everyone.
Hello.
And welcome. For all of you new faces, welcome. And for all of our loyal watchers, you'll notice something different about today. So I, Erica Campbell, am presenting as Tim Sohn today, and my wonderful guest, Mark Kagayama, as my guest co-host. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Today is episode number 78, and we are so delighted you're here. This show, called Showing Up, Perspectives on Cancer, was created as a safe space for cancer patients, supporters, and everyone surrounding the cancer experience. We provide stories of hope, healing, and inspiration. And I know today, with the specific topic of bringing a greater meaning to your life as a result of cancer, you will hear something today that may change your life. And we're really excited about that. My name is Erica Newbert Campbell, and I have multiple perspectives on cancer. First, I am a breast cancer survivor, and I am also a longtime volunteer with Children with Cancer. I currently lead a nonprofit called, Pinky Swear Foundation that supports children with cancer and their families with financial support. And I often call myself a cancer orphan after losing my mother to breast cancer 20 years ago. And I'm delighted to be a co-host today with the fantastic and inspiring Mark Kagayama. So Mark, introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Erica. My name is Mark Kagayama, and I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient / survivor. I'm definitely much better. I'm not in the throes of any major treatments, so happy to say that. I have a YouTube channel called To Be Your Own Hero, and I have had the honor to have had interviewed our guest today, Dr. Janet Palmer. And so if you like what you see today, you can also check out my YouTube channel and look up the interview I did with Dr. Janet, who I like to call her that. And thank you. I was going to say something wise like, yeah, I'm actually Tim Sohn, but I realize I don't have his rubber goats and rubber cows and things like that. Oh, you have it.
This is a virtual one for you, Mark.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please let us know where you are tuning in from and what your connection to cancer is. And we really, really appreciate you being here, and we want this to be an active conversation. Also, we encourage you, each and every one of you, connect with each other in the chat, and it's a great way to get to know other people and connect with other people, and hit the share button, let your friends and family and colleagues know about the show. So Erica, go ahead.
Yes, well, before we begin, I want to remind everybody, just as Tim would if he was here, about the phenomenal in-person Showing Up event coming up on September 30th and October 1st. It's going to be in Northeast Pennsylvania at Marywood University. I highly encourage you to register, attend. Mark, I said we have the best viewers in LinkedIn, and we get to finally meet again in person. And so that's going to be a phenomenal opportunity to engage, give a big hug, and learn more about each other, why it matters, and what we can do when we come together so powerfully. So the vision of this is to be an experience where there is learning, inspiration, sharing of stories, healing, and hope. And it'll be a safe space for all. So please join us. There'll also be a live viewing or a live recording of this show during the weekend. So please, please, please register for the event, September 30th, October 1st. See you there this fall. Mark, it's going to be there before we know it. And I hear, Mark, that you are going to be our keynote speaker. Can you give us any preview into what you'll be talking about?
No. No, it's a surprise.
I love it.
I just am so excited about it. It'll be a great there's something. Zoom is great, or StreamYard or whatever live stream that you do, or whatever method that you do online. But there is nothing like getting together in person and actually having that person in front of you. And I just think it's so great. And I'm just loving, having the ability after COVID to get together in person and, get back to the way we were, because that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I often talk about like it's the new normal, but I still want to have the old normal, which is, the in-person opportunity to hug, look each person in the eye and say, I see you and I hear you.
Oh, there's nothing like it. It is the greatest. And I just try to go to everything in person that I possibly can, because you just get so much out of it if you're willing to open up your mind and open up your heart and engage with people. It is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. My vision for that event is that it changes people in positive ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's get ready for a positive change here.
Yeah. Yes. So Mark, why don't you introduce your good friend, Dr. Janet? Tell us about her and we'll bring her on the show and bring her on the screen in just a second.
I am so excited to introduce somebody I've known a while. I've done an interview with her, talked to her a number of times. She is incredible, and all of you are going to enjoy this, because, the way I look at Dr. Janet is I have so much respect for her. She is so wise. In fact, she's kind of, I was trying to figure out a female who would fit this mold, but she's kind of like Mr. Miyagi, like the person who has the answers and you go to that person for wisdom. That is Dr. Janet. Dr. Janet, sorry, I had to use a male version because I couldn't think of a female, but you actually are that female, that wise person. And she is so introspective and has such great insight to life. And so I am so excited to introduce everyone Dr. Janet Palmer. Dr. Janet, welcome.
Woohoo! Thank you. Your check is in the mail, my son.
Make sure there's a bunch of zeros.
Wax off, wax on, wax off. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm deeply, deeply humbled to be amongst you and to have the opportunity to share by showing up.
Yeah.
My experience with cancer and all of the perspectives thereof. So thank you, and thanks to Tim. And we hold him to the light right now, and know all is well.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, Mark, why don't you kick us off with some questions and we'll dive into Janet's story.
Sounds good. Dr. Janet, how did you find out that you had cancer and what went through your mind?
It was during the midst of COVID, and it was early, I guess March 21. And I had gone to my PCP because I had the first vaccine and had a horrible reaction to it. I mean, it was just difficult. Each and every day got more and more complex. And so I was going to him to let him be aware and to show him the reactions that I was having. While I was there, someone came out and she was definitely distraught. And she sat and collected herself and then walked up to the receptionist and said she needed referrals. In so doing, I said, well, you know what, maybe I need to get some too. So as I was leaving my doctor's appointment, I kind of asked them also for referrals and went to the first, which was my mammo. when I did the mammo, I usually peek and I could see that something was different than it had been in the past. I could actually see the spot on my mammo. And that began the whole process of biopsying, needle aspiration biopsying, and then finally deciding that, yes, it was. And when the news came to my PCP, he gave me a call, and I was on my way to visit a friend for tea. And there was traffic, horrific traffic, going in the direction in which I was, and even worse so, going home. So I was in the left lane, vice grip, couldn't get off, couldn't move, and hearing, "You have cancer." So I exhaled and I inhaled and I said, "Okay, God, look, obviously I'm the only one surprised here. What did you have in mind? This would not be one of the tools I would have put in my toolbox. So what do you have in mind?" And I just sat, having been a Quaker. I know what it is to sit in silence and wait upon the Holy Spirit to direct. And so I waited for him to give me an answer. And his answer was, "Have you seen my servant, Janet?" Basically affirming that it was a conversation between himself and the devil. And that sense of assurance that he had it took me off the hook, because all I had to do was trust him and know that, as a scripture that my dad would always write in any gift or any book that he would give to me, "In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path." And so I knew that if I acknowledged God in the midst of all of this, he would direct my path through this. And so that began my process, knowing that the God that I developed a relationship with in 1977, January 9th, was not going to fail me in April 2021.
Wow. Janet, you speak with such certainty about that experience. And I know, as being a cancer patient myself, that's really hard to do. All right. Were you also in fear? And if so, what scared you the most?
Well, I'm going to dissect your question in several parts. One, the setup was that in 2019, God had given me some words and enabled me to write a book entitled Human GPS, God's Perfect Script, the Fulfillment of My Why, which was looking at my created purpose.
Wow.
And so that happens in 2019. The diagnosis comes in 2021, which now the question is, okay, do the words in your book about your created purpose not hold true now that it's all happening to you?
Wow.
And so really now embodying that sense that my script, my life, is all in God's hands, directed by him. Just as when you put in on a global positioning system, it knows your starting point. And when you put in your endpoint, it will navigate you through. So irrespective of the detours you may make, irrespective of the traffic jams, as long as you don't change your destination, you're getting there until you shut her off or him off, dependent on who you choose. So I see, and my mindset was such and has been such, that I am here for a purpose. And irrespective of the obstacles the setbacks, the self-imposed issues, or those that happen by circumstance, I have a created purpose. And so, was there fear? The fear was not cancer. My trepidation was chemo. And it came honestly because I am allergic to quite a few things, quite a few medicines, quite a few foods. And so for me, I don't take, fortunately, I hadn't until then taken any medication well into my 60s, which is a shock to many of my PCPs and doctors. How could you be 60 years old and don't need any medication? Well, I didn't. But we had to go through 4 different cocktails possibilities on paper as to how to treat my particular cancer. And it wasn't until the 5th that I was able to then say, okay, and move forward. So chemo really scared me more so than the cancer. And giving it all to God, really coming to him and saying, hey, look, you know me. You know the longest and the shortest hair on my head and the longest and the shortest toenail. So you tell me how this is going to work, given all of my allergies. And again, in true form, taking care of his daughter, Daddy didn't fail. And I got sick the night before chemo.
Wow.
All the nausea, all the things at the other end happened the night before chemo. Throughout chemo, I never had a moment's distress. And I have to say that is due to my mindset and my faith and my knowing that the power of God that goes beyond me enveloped me and carried me through.
I have to ask a question. You mentioned something that I just have to ask this. You wrote a book, and the words that you write in the book, how did that influence your cancer journey? Because one of the things that I have to be very, very conscious of, I have a YouTube channel, and I have to live what I say. In other words, if I say something, I have to live by that. Otherwise, you're just a fraud. So how did that influence your book, influence your cancer journey?
Well, it's either true or it's not, right? I am a coach, have been a coach for several years, and I have navigated people through some very dark moments. And what I say has to be true. It cannot just be something that is external. It has to flow through me. And one of the things that I love about what God provides is that from my lens, he doesn't leave himself without a witness. And so when I look at nature, as exampled in my book, the most beautiful pearl originates from an irritant that gets into that particular being. And in its effort to get rid of it, this beautiful pearl is made. And so when my Bible says, in this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, then that has to mean something for me. And so I have to live as someone who has survived cancer. I have to live in a place that exemplifies the fact that tribulation is for all of us. But those of us that are leading and are called to lead have to embody not just a part of that statement, but the whole of that statement, which is being of good cheer. And so as I was doing chemo and in my infusion center, I walked in the first day and I said, hey, look, this is the first time in my life I'm going to be able to do a pole dance. So come on, hook me up. Hook me up. I'm here for 4 hours. I get to pole dance for 4 hours. And people would look at me like, does this woman not know what she has? Is she really not really sure? But every time I had to go to the bathroom or I had to go get some water, I got up and I did a dance with my pole because I had to show the cheer as a result of my tribulation. I had been practicing my entire life, according to my mom, as soon as my hair would grow decently, I would chop it off. So I had been going from shoulder to near scalp my entire life. The only thing I had not tried was bald. And so when chemo happened, I said, well, I've been dress rehearsing this my whole life. So, okay, let's do this. And so I have always worn different glasses. They have to match my clothes. So whatever. But I decided to wear different earrings in each ear. Since I was going to be bald, I was going to accentuate what people were going to look at anyway. So I gave them different earrings to look at, and they would say, "Oh, poor thing, she's old. She doesn't realize she put on different earrings." And that was fine. That was good for me. And there were certain days, dependent on how badly I felt, or sometimes chemo plays tricks and the whole thing, and I would put on different shoes. I unfortunately have quite a few shoes. So if I was wearing flats, I'd wear a brown flat and a purple flat, or a brown flat and a black flat. And people would look at me, oh, the poor thing. And I'm like, no, I get to have fun. And made you look, fooled you, made you look. So it is your mindset. It is your perspective. It is knowing that tribulations come for all of us. It's just a matter of who's running this trip. Are you going to run it, or are you going to give the diagnosis the power?
You're a mind reader also, because you read my mind as to my next question. You already answered it. So Erica, go ahead. Your turn.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking the same thing. You read my mind, Mark. It's all good. Well, Janet, you talk about mindset, and I'm the most firm believer in mindset as well. And so how do you think you shifted from the why me question, right, to the why not me? Because I heard you say that before.
Well, that the question was posed to me by my PCP when he made the call. Everyone in his office was distraught. No, Dr. Palmer, not you, not you, not you. And I'm like, well, why not me? I mean, don't I put my pants on like everybody else? Don't I? And why not me? That same premise that in this world you will have tribulation.
Yeah.
And so no one gets a pass. The pass comes when you utilize all that you have, all of your resources. One of the most amazing trees, and there are plenty of them, is the palm tree. for me, not because it's almost my name, but anyway. Here is this humongous tree, yet there is an ability to, in the greatest winds, accommodate, go with it, with the assurance that within its DNA is a resiliency, is the ability to weather the storm and come right back the very next day as if it was unscathed.
That is beautiful. My question for you, and this is a big question, Dr. Janet, in what ways did cancer bring greater meaning to your life?
As I said to my family, cancer is a clarifier, and cancer is a definer. And whereas we all live, or I did, I can only speak for me, but from many that I serve, we seldomly think of our expiration date. But when diagnosed with a terminal illness, all of a sudden, the possibility of the end becomes personal. And for me, my book and my desire to do my father's business intensified. And once I was assured that my days, although numbered, were not going to be numbered less than I had thought, I am determined to impact the lives of 1 billion people before I check out. And
Yes.
impact their lives in a significant way, so that they are not just surviving, they are thriving. And if I can be the conduit through which that becomes a possibility, then the motto that I embodied years ago when I started my practice as a psychotherapist, namely, if I can help somebody as I go along, then my living shall not be in vain, then that gets actualized.
You mentioned something. You mentioned something that was really profound and talked about influencing 1 billion people. Somebody told me something similar to that when I started my cancer journey, and she said that, she saw when I started my YouTube channel, I was really weak, and and looking back, it was not what it is today. It wasn't good by my standards, but somebody told me early on, she said, you're going to influence millions of people. And I thought to myself, how is that going to happen? And it, God has put so many incredible people in front of my path, and I could see it grow before my eyes. Can you talk more about influencing that 1 billion people and how you see that happening?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great question.
For me, the easiest way for me to do that is to be a servant. My aim in everything that I do is to make mustard seed deposits. And if in each day I give something to the lives that cross my path and that I cross theirs, and it's but a mustard seed, then it is capable for that to become the largest experience in their lives. And oftentimes it's just giving someone a smile. Oftentimes it's just rubbing their back. Oftentimes it's just letting them know that they're seen. I am a firm believer that if I take the time as I do each day, when I become conscious that I'm awake, to spend time with God and ask Him to take the little that I present to Him today and make it much, He does it. And so I pray that those that are listening live and those that are listening in the replay know that the fact that they are hearing it today is indicative that if it is God, if it is higher power, whomever it is that they believe in as greater than themselves, has heard their desire, has heard their cry. And I am here today to tell you, I hear you. I deeply feel you. And I want to applaud you. Because in some way, by just being alive, by just listening to this program, you are making the world a better place by making yourself in a better space. And so I love you. I deeply, deeply appreciate you, and know that I would not be who I am today if you were not listening. Whether it's live or replay, you are making a tremendous difference in the world. And so I thank you, because there is something that you will have taken from this moment in time, which will impact lives forevermore. And so, thank you.
Yeah. That's how you're going to affect billions of people, Janet, by these kinds of things. Yeah, great question, Mark. And actually, Mark, I'm going to go a little off script here. That's all right.
which I've been doing a lot here.
Sorry, Tim. We got your show hijacked. But it's a little bit of a dark question, Janet. And it's something I personally have struggled with for most of my life. And I've come, when I ask the question, you'll see why I mean this. But I've come to my own resolution. I've always wanted to ask another human this question. I don't think I actually have, which is both my mother and myself, I would describe us as deep women of faith. And as you heard in my opening, my mom lost her battle to cancer. And she was one of God's most faithful servants. Most faithful. And so what I struggle with is, when I hear you say that, you rested in God's hands and you trusted him. And so did my mother. And that journey went different. You guys have very different endings. So what do you say to someone who is also faith-filled like you, but that did not have the same ending of the journey as perhaps those who have survived?
That is a great question, Erica. That is awesome.
Yeah. I've been dying to ask this question for years.
And what I say to you is that I hear your pain. I hear your struggle. But most of all, I hear your anger. And each of those are things that for me as a believer, God cherishes. Because he cherishes our truth. And he cherishes our transparency. And wish that I could. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
But what I look to is examples in nature where a tree that is thriving, a tree that produces amazing fruit, has in it and the circumstances, the minerals, the sunlight, the everything is indicative of its ability to produce good fruit. Yet there are fruits that some don't mature, some almost mature. And what that says to me is the timing is never anything that we can fully understand. There is a mysticism. And as difficult as your loss is, there is unbelievable power that loss has enabled in your life.
Yeah, that's true.
You have been able to utilize it as a power pack. It fuels your determination to make a difference in this world. And so, as tragic and as painful as it is, there is beauty. When there is an infection, a splinter, the only way to ensure that it doesn't create further problem is to take skin from immediately where the splinter has gone. And you clear it out and ensure that it bleeds. And that is how healing happens. And so if that works in a splinter, where you got to bleed until there is purity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yet, as depicted by you, the loss of your mom has created a new mindset for you, has created a determination, has given you a turbo engine approach to finding answers for others that are broken.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Thank you for that. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. God and I, well, you know, I was angry at God for a long time. He and I had a reconciliation a couple of years ago. You know, I worked through that question, and I'm just fascinated by, there's an answer that I have. The answer that I have, and the one that I worked through, was that slightly different maybe than your perspective, is that God wasn't in control. Because the God that I know would not have done that, right? To his faithful servants. You know, there's not like the magic wand that's like, you, not you, you, not you. Like, that's not how the God I know. But that he was weeping alongside us. He was just as sad as we were. And when I could ask for, you know, when I asked for a cure, that's not something within his gift, right? He can't stop a moving car, and he can't, you know, stop an infection or things like that. But if I asked for peace, I would receive it immediately. If I asked for grace, I would receive it immediately. If I asked for healing, I would receive it immediately. And that was within his gift. And he was always giving me those things. It was other things on this tangible earth that were really not in his control. That for me gave me peace, that distinction, that it wasn't a magic wand of, you know, or a chess game that he was playing, but that he was simply walking beside all of us in each of our, as you described it, tribulations, as that grain of sand that becomes a pearl. And that landed for me.
You know, the beauty of it all is that, again, our lives are not cookie cutters.
Yeah.
Because as we talk about God, right, and we each there is a personal depiction of that, as well as a universal depiction of that. Yet, he personalizes answers for us.
Yeah.
And because he knows us, and because he knows how you need to receive it, he gave it to you in that form.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty for me in serving a God as I serve, because you talk about designer wear. Well, everything about life for me gets to be designed specifically for me by a daddy who knows me,
Yeah.
as he knows you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm glad I got to ask that question. I'm glad Tim's not here because I went off piece.
Erica, do you want to address some of the comments in the comment section?
Yeah, for sure. And I'd love to thank James for this lovely comment. And it means a lot for you to say that, James, and for you to make me feel seen and heard. And Janet, for you to also make me feel seen and heard, and to continue that healing that still clearly is the splinter that needs to bleed. Thank you. I might need to turn it over to you now.
I'm gonna read James's comment. He says, Erica, I can feel your pain and anger. I'm so sorry for your loss. It was that mom was better to be an angel now, while Doctor gets to continue on her journey being an angel with us. For whatever reason, Erica, I think unfortunately is your mom's journey and path. I'm very sorry for your loss, Erica.
Thank you.
Beautiful, James. Thank you so much. That is truly awesome.
I didn't plan to cry today, but that's what happened.
That's what is so great about life is being able to show emotion and passion. That shows us how much that means to you, Erica. And it's thank you for sharing that with us. So, Dr. Janet, what was what was or is the silver lining of your journey?
Mm-hmm. You know, the people like yourself and Erica and James and thousands of others that I have met as a result of my diagnosis would never have happened. And so to hold the hearts, particularly right now for you, Erica, would not have happened. Understanding and having to really wrestle with questions like that. And I wish, Erica, that were the first time I was asked a question like that. But without knowing God and having to know Him in the dark places, in the places that, from a humanistic standpoint, from a place where the portrayal of God as being genie in the bottle and solely the good God, I know God as having a temperament very much like Janet. Because if I am made in His likeness, there is both a good side and a not so good side. And the parts of the Bible that I love are those where Jesus goes into the temple and tears the tables up and down and just turns the thing upside down. Because there are so many times in my life where that is exactly where I am. And to know that I am one with a God who feels saddened, weeps, is angered, is frustrated, disappointed, as when He knew He was dying and He asked His friends, sit in the gap with me, man. And on 3 times He came back and was disappointed that they were satisfying their own needs, not His. It helps me in those moments of solitude, those times when you know that you are walking this walk alone, irrespective of having family members, having very dear friends who tell you, I'm going to be there for you always. And so the silver lining in this is knowing that I know that I know that I know that God is closer than my hands and my feet. He's even closer than the skin that embodies me and the blood that enables me to live.
Thank you, Janet. Now, I'm going to ask our last question, which I always call the toughest question on LinkedIn. Toughest question on LinkedIn is, what is your one-word perspective on cancer?
Beginning.
Ooh. Now that's a good one. Tell us a little bit more about that word.
For every terminal or termination, there is a beginning. And in the face of the diagnosis, no matter how hard, being able to hear all that is being said to you, but embrace it is a beginning. Could catapult you to a space you could never envision. It gives you an opportunity to be disruptive.
Love that word too.
Disruptive to every cell in your being that wants to jump on the terminal bandwagon. All that is being said to you by your now cadre of doctors and even the chatter that is going on between your ears.
Yeah. A lot of that. I love it, Janet. Beginning. All right. Now, the best part about this is that Mark and I also get to answer this question. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark. Mark, I know sometimes you're a cheater. Sometimes I see you use 2 words.
No, I'm gonna go with one.
All right,
I'm actually wearing a shirt, and it doesn't show up well because of the virtual background, but my shirt says, "I'm living my blessed life," and so my word is blessed. Yes. Because we're all blessed to have had this opportunity with Dr. Janet and you, Erica, and so that's my word.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one. I love that one. My word this week was inspired by something you said, Janet, and the word is pearl. And I have to tell you, I was really moved by that analogy where, you know, the grain of sand is simply an irritant in the oyster. And the act of removing that irritant becomes the most beautiful pearl. And that's going to stay with me. And that's cancer, right? That's the irritant we're all trying to remove from our bodies or from our minds, right? We talk about mindset. And the simple act of that courage, whether you remove it or not, right? With my mother's, that becomes the pearl. That's really cool. And so
that is, you know, it was a pearl for your mom because the pearl did not stay in the oyster.
Oh, yeah. They're going to make me cry again.
It became yours. And you have been so amazing at stringing it with like kind.
Yes.
That is your best word that I've heard from you, Erica. That is just, it's awesome. That's phenomenal.
Well, I stole it from Janet.
Well, it shows that you received her gift.
Yes, I did. So thank you for that gift, Janet. Thank you so much. Yeah, Mark, would you want to read this comment from James?
Yes. You have a very learned approach to life, Dr. Janet. Thank you for sharing your journey and your cancer story with us. Bless you, Janet. You are all beautiful pearls. That is beautiful, James. Thank you so much. And like I said at the beginning, Dr. Janet is like Mr. Miyagi, Yoda. You know, she might even have us wax on and wax off paint the fence, all that kind of stuff. But it's been awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thank you.
I just have one more, if I may indulge. If
Yes.
if anyone is feeling less than, having doubt, is in the throes of grief and trying to navigate through this thing called life, please reach out. You can reach me on social media. Dr. Janet Palmer International is Facebook and Instagram, and janetpalmer.com. That's JanetPalmer, like the palm of your hand with an ER. I would be more than happy to have virtual coffee with you or bring you on as a client to help you find your pearl and purpose in this life. So please reach out, janetpalmer.com. I would be honored to serve you.
Oh, what a gift, Janet. That is a gift. Encourage all of our listeners to take Janet up on that offer and make that really powerful connection. Thank you, Dr. Janet.
Thank you, Dr. Janet.
Thank you.
Great as always.
Yes.
Thank you.
Whew, Mark, man, we are like the dream team. Sorry, Tim.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was really great. Yeah.
That was really great. And I am so grateful to everybody who showed up today. Again, the theme of our show is simply showing up. And so if something spoke to you today, share it with a friend, hold it in your heart, and let us know what landed for you.
And we are always looking for guests who want to be part of the show, survivors, family members, authors, cancer nonprofit organization, medical professionals, anyone with a perspective on cancer. Send Tim or Erica a direct message if you would like to come on the show.
Yes.
Erica.
Next week's guest is actually a personal friend of mine. His name is Ryan Rude. He is a childhood cancer survivor, beating a brain tumor as a 12-year-old. Ryan is also involved with my organization, the Pinky Swear Foundation. He sits on our board of directors. So we're not going to be here next Tuesday, July 4th. Obviously, 4th of July, go celebrate. And for those of you who have our international friends, it is a celebration holiday. We'll be closed. But back on July, oh God, I can't do the math, 11th, July 11th is when our next show will be. And it'll be Ryan Rude, a close friend of mine, great supporter, and an inspiring story. You'll really love to hear from Ryan. So please join us then. So thank you, everyone. Showing up, Perspective on Cancer. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Happy 4th of July. Mark, let's dance.
We're going to
close it out now.
We're going to